What's up, ACL Nation? We're just getting into the start of our 2020-2021 ACL season. We have all of the ACL national events to bring you guys here, all those dates and locations for you to tune in, as well as we are going to welcome USA Cornhole President and CEO Kevin Warner. He's going to talk about the vision for USA Cornhole and its relationship with the American Cornhole League. This is the ACL Throwdown. As I said, ACL Nation, we are going to welcome Kevin Warner to the show this week to talk about the vision for USA Cornhole and how it fits in with the American Cornhole League. But first, my hashtag Trey's Takes. We now have secured all of the national and world championship locations for this season. A reminder, all of the national events this year are for ACL pros only, which means many of you can attend as spectators, COVID permitting, or tune into ESPN networks in order to watch all of that action. Of course, the World Championships, though, will be opened to the public, to specific players within the ACL. More details to be released there about how to qualify. But for the most part, you're looking to see where our ACL pros are going to be traveling. We're going to kick off the season February 7th through the 5th through the 7th, just outside of Tampa, Florida. We'll be at the Advent Health Center at the Advent Health Field House in Winter Garden, Florida, just outside of Tampa, where that big football game is going on in the early part of February. We'll be having another edition of Super Hole. We had Sam Darnold and Daniel Jones last season. Stay tuned to see what we got up our sleeves this year for our 2021 ACL Super Hole. So that'll be the first national of the season. National number 2, we're going to keep along the lines of following some major sports, and we are going to Wichita State University in Wichita, Kansas. That is going to be March 19th through the 21st, the second ACL National of the year. Also the same opening weekend and same opening location for the NCAA basketball tournament start. So although the tournament was canceled this year, there's going to be plenty of hype around that. So we're building our event around that NCAA men's basketball tournament. So stay tuned for more information there. ACL National number 3, we wanted to go there last year, couldn't because of COVID, so we are going this year, Salt Lake City, Utah, at the Salt Palace Convention Center there in Utah, April 30th through May 2nd. Excited to get up there. It'll be our first event in that region of the country, so excited to see our pros compete. We'll wrap up our nationals for the season July 4th weekend again. July 2nd through the 4th, we'll be back at Valley Forge Casino, the site of the 2019 ACL World Championships. That great broadcast court location, Valley Forge Casino in Pennsylvania, to wrap it up again July 2nd through the 4th. And finally, we'll round out our pro season and really our entire season with our ACL World Championships, and we are back in Rock Hill, South Carolina. That is going to be August 2nd through the 8th in that Rock Hill Sports and Events Center. Again, that's going to be a culmination to our entire ACL season, and we love that venue so much. We are moving our world headquarters there. By then, we'll have our headquarters up and running for all of our players and fans to check out, so it's going to be a great season. Great nationals again, Tampa, Wichita, Salt Lake City, Valley Forge, and then Rock Hill, South Carolina round out our national season. For those of you wondering about our open events, obviously we got our first open event in Chicago, October 23rd through the 25th, but over the next week and a half, probably on next week's Throwdown, we'll be releasing at least the first eight opens at a minimum this year. We'll be releasing those first 8 here in the next week and a half, 2 weeks, and then over the next 3 to 4 weeks, adding a few above the 8 for a total of about 12 open events for the year. So stay tuned to that. Stay plugged into the ACL website as well as the ACL social media pages. Let's get to my conversation with Kevin Warner and see about his vision for USA Cornhole as we come off of these USA Cornhole National Championships this past weekend. ACL Nation, I have the man for USA Cornhole, Mr. Kevin Warner. Kevin, Thank you so much for taking some time. I know it is a busy week for you. You're in the hotel room, right? You're on site in Rock Hill getting ready for these USA Cornhole National Championships. Is that right?
Absolutely, yeah. I'm here at just down the road, about 5 minutes away from the facility. So yeah,
The calm before the storm, if you will.
for sure.
For those of you tuning in, we are recording this a few days before the USA Cornhole National Championships, and this obviously will air afterwards. So people tuning in, getting to see Kevin for the first time. So Kevin, like I said, thank you again for really sitting down. I know it is a busy time for you. And for many of our ACL audience, they're seeing USA Cornhole kind of for the first time, for our first couple times, and trying to understand what it is, right? And so what is USA's Cornhole's relationship to the ACL, and how are the two working together to really grow the sport, not only domestically but internationally?
The best way to describe the association between ACL and USA Cornhole is kind of like USA Basketball is the Olympic side, the Olympic organization, the not-for-profit, but then you have the NBA. And some of the NBA players will play, obviously, in the Olympics and things like that. So that's the best correlation that I can give you, and that's what the ACL is to USA Cornhole. And I mean, I'm the only employee at USA Cornhole right now, so I wear lots and lots of hats. But coming into an event like this, some of the services like the event management, things like that, that's where ACL and USA Cornhole have kind of partnered in that, and allowing me to use that software, things like that. So yeah, it's because USA Cornhole is not a competitive professional league. We just kind of just give a little bit more to the overall cornhole community, and really trying to from the grassroots up instead of really focusing on pros and things like that. But that's what USA Cornhole is more about.
Yeah. And so really, I think there's a lot of different aspects to that. And as you say you're the only employee, trying to do a lot of this yourself. I know you have a background in these type of organizations. And so when you think about the next 5 to 10 years for the sport of cornhole, especially when it comes to USA Cornhole and that international perspective, if you will, what is kind of your vision, and where are you trying to take USA Cornhole to a place that the sport has never been?
Well, I mean, ultimately, we're looking at the Olympics, and so that's the pinnacle right now for us to get the sport into the Olympic Games. There are a lot of things, a lot of hurdles that we're going to have to cross before we get to that spot. I mean, ultimately, we need 75 participating countries over 5 continents to be able to even potentially get included into the Olympic Games. So. But everyone's seen over the last year, especially with COVID and the virtual cornhole tournaments and things, that there are several other countries out there right now. So we've got a good start with that. But that's the ultimate goal. But the other things are, there's Pan American Games that are international competitions, creating a World Championships. For cornhole with potentially the WCO and USA Cornhole driving that. So there are definitely some participation and competition goals that we have going into that. And really the first steps are kind of getting our feet wet and getting USA to understand what USA Cornhole is, all the cornhole players in the United States to understand what we are and what we're trying to do, and then ultimately get to those pinnacles, other pinnacles like the World Championships, Pan Am Games, and ultimately the Olympics.
Yeah, and obviously with that, you're trying to put on a bunch of different events, and one of those being these USA Cornhole National Championships that you have going on this weekend in Rock Hill, South Carolina. And so, going into this weekend, what's the excitement level and kind of what are you looking most forward to about this weekend as we kind of, wrap up the season, if you will, when it comes to USA Cornhole?
Yeah, well, the number one thing, the biggest goal, I mean, if I were in these championships, my biggest goal would be, hey, I want to make that national team, because ultimately over the five different championships, the winners of each of those tournaments will become part of that first ever USA Cornhole national team. And a lot of people are asking, what are we going to do with that? Ideally, I'd like to try to find some international competition that we can go to, whether we bring other countries here and do some kind of USA versus world type of competition. There are potentially some other opportunities that we could do as far as some charity events that we would be able to bring on some of the national team members, and they would play in those charity type tournaments or something like that. Just getting the branding out and definitely exposure for the players that do make that team. And some of the other things, creating programs, whether it be a junior program or an educational program. So using the national team as kind of the models of how to throw a certain way and what's the grip on this person, and really dive into the educational side, and then turn around and produce that for the members and everything like that. It's not very far away from I mean, we're already seeing agents getting involved in cornhole, but it's not very far away from having coaches being I mean, whether it be one-on-one coaches. Tennis players have individual coaches and things.
I want to be a coach. Sign me up.
So I mean, those kinds of things. That's really what we're looking at doing it over the long term. And as a not-for-profit, we're not looking to bank a lot of money or anything. Any revenue that we get, I'm going to turn around and put it right back into programs and creating the brand, so people, I mean, when they see USA Cornhole, they know what it is. So I mean, that's really what it's all about is giving back to the cornhole community, making that cornhole community a lot stronger, and making the competition a lot better, and everyone just improving their skill and getting involved in the sport.
Well, when tryouts for that coach of that national team comes up, I'm on that list, Kevin. I will do whatever it takes. Kevin Warner, USA Cornhole. Kevin, I really think what you put together is just truly, truly incredible, and I'm excited to see it. And you told me just before we kind of started this call, and you will have heard about it if you're an audience member watching right now, but it's kind of somewhat breaking news. But you got some great news along the broadcasting front, especially alongside NBC Sports, who has been the broadcast partner for USA Cornhole for this first inaugural season. So what's the good news here, Kevin?
Just signed a contract for broadcasting all of our events for 2021. That was one of my biggest goals going in for 2020, was to turn around and get that contract for next year as well. And so basically what it is, it's going to be those same events, the club championship, USA Forces, and then 2 broadcasts for the national championships. And because of COVID, we had to mix around some of the events, and that's why we added a second one to the national championships this year. But we missed out on a couple that are kind of going to be optional depending on the circumstances as we go into it next year. So we'll have a minimum of 4 2-hour broadcasts again, and hopefully all of them are live. I mean, the virtual stuff was fun and it kept things moving, but there's nothing like live cornhole, playing pool play and the preliminaries before you get on that big stage and it's everything settled on the boards. So that's exciting news. Is we're going to be on NBC Sports Network again for 2021.
That's awesome. You've done a great job, and can't wait to see how this season kind of wraps up, and then as we get to see it build again next year. And I think the hype, unfortunately, COVID hit at probably the worst possible time for USA Cornhole. Unfortunately,
I lost all my hair.
Well, I think next season will certainly bring a ton of momentum. The NBC Sports deal is obviously monumental. So we all wish you the best of luck. And the ACL, we're big friends and big fans of USA Cornhole as well. So Kevin Warner, President and CEO of USA Cornhole, thank you so much, Kevin. We appreciate it. And the hair that you do got left, don't pull it out this weekend trying to stress out on these national championships.
Yeah, no doubt. I appreciate it, Trey.
Thanks, Kevin.
All right.
Yes, Kevin Warner, President and CEO of USA Cornhole, the organization that's going to take Cornhole to the Olympics on that international stage. Thank you so much, Kevin, for sitting down and chatting with us this week. Much appreciated. If you have not subscribed to the ACL Digital Network, you can do it one of two ways. You can go to watch.iplayacl.com and purchase a subscription there. Or if you want to purchase a Platinum ACL membership, like I teased earlier, we're going to be releasing the rest of the Open schedule over the next week and a half, 2 weeks. And so in order to get priority registration for those, make sure you sign up for that Platinum membership. It's also going to give you free access to the ACL Digital Network as a premium subscriber. So check that out. You can buy that Platinum membership at app.iplayacl.com in my account. All right, well, ladies and gentlemen, that's all the time that we got this week from the American Cornhole League. This has been your host, Trey Ryder. We'll see you guys next week.